Today felt heavy. It's Wednesday, August 13th, 2025, and the weight of the week had settled squarely on my shoulders. A project deadline at work was moved up unexpectedly, creating a cascade of urgent emails that filled my inbox like a rising tide. My car made a strange clunking noise on the way home, a sound that my wallet definitely did not want to hear. By the time I walked through my front door, I felt frayed and overwhelmed. My first thought wasn't to unpack the day's events or to figure out a plan. My first, most powerful thought was about the half-eaten bag of salty potato chips tucked away in the pantry. I could almost taste them. This feeling was intensely familiar. It was a well-worn path in my brain, a shortcut to what felt like relief. The pull toward the pantry was more than just hunger. It was a deep, instinctual urge for comfort. I stood there in the quiet of my kitchen, the silence amplifying the argument in my head. One part of me, the tired and stressed part, pleaded for the simple comfort of mindless eating. The other part of me, a quieter but more persistent voice, knew where this path led. It led to a feeling of being overly full, of regret, and of not having actually solved any of my problems. What would it take, I wondered, to simply close the pantry door and walk away? The thought was both terrifying and strangely empowering. It was time to try something different. To change a habit, I first needed to understand it. I decided to become a detective of my own behavior. I started paying close attention to the moments when the urge to binge felt most powerful. It wasn't just on big, bad days. Sometimes it was triggered by a single critical email from a colleague. Other times it was the vague anxiety that came from scrolling through social media and seeing curated images of other people's perfect lives. The trigger was almost always an uncomfortable emotion: stress, boredom, loneliness, or a feeling of inadequacy. The food was never really about the food itself. I realized the craving was a form of emotional shorthand. My brain had learned a very simple equation: unpleasant feeling plus food equals temporary numbness. Recognizing this pattern was a huge step for me. It shifted my perspective from feeling like I had a mysterious, uncontrollable urge to seeing it as a predictable, learned response. My first real test came on a Tuesday afternoon. I had just gotten off a tense phone call that left me feeling defensive and drained. Immediately, my mind went to the pint of chocolate fudge brownie ice cream in the freezer. It called to me with a siren song of creamy, sugary relief. But this time I was ready with a plan. My resolution was simple. Before I ate, I would go for a 10-minute walk around the block. Putting on my sneakers felt like a monumental effort. The first few minutes outside were a struggle. My mind was still replaying the phone call, still fixated on the freezer. I walked with my shoulders hunched, my thoughts racing. But then, something shifted. I started to notice the world around me. I saw the way the late afternoon sun filtered through the leaves of a maple tree. I heard the sound of children laughing in a nearby yard. By the time I circled back to my front door, the 10 minutes were up. The intensity of the craving had subsided dramatically. I walked back into my kitchen and looked at the freezer. The pull was gone. My success with the 10-minute walk made me feel invincible, but that feeling didn't last forever. About a week later, I had a truly terrible day. It was just a perfect storm of a disagreement with a close friend, a flat tire, and looming financial anxiety. The craving for a large pizza all to myself was overwhelming. And this time I gave in. I ordered it, I ate most of it, and I felt awful afterward. Instead of beating myself up, I tried a different approach. I reminded myself that I was human. I was learning a new skill, and setbacks were a natural part of any learning process. This act of self-forgiveness was revolutionary. Realizing that a 10-minute walk wouldn't be a magic bullet for every situation, I knew I needed to expand my arsenal. One of the most surprisingly effective tools I added was a simple 5-minute journaling exercise. Another tool I discovered was the power of connection. I made a pact with a trusted friend. When I was feeling overwhelmed, instead of isolating myself with food, I would send her a quick text. I also explored simple mindfulness exercises. One of my favorites was the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding technique. This simple sensory exercise pulled me out of my spiraling thoughts and anchored me firmly in the present moment. The changes started small, but created a positive ripple effect. My mood and energy levels improved dramatically. Waking up in the morning without a food hangover meant I started my days with more clarity and vitality. My performance at work improved because I was able to approach challenges with a clearer head instead of being clouded by emotional turmoil. I started taking on new challenges I would have shied away from before. The most profound change was in my relationship with myself. I began to trust myself again. I learned to listen to my body's true signals and to my heart's true needs for comfort and connection. If my story sounds familiar, I want you to know that you are not alone in this struggle. Please, do not waste a single moment on shame or guilt. Instead, I hope you can look at this challenge with a sense of curiosity. Remember that this is a journey, not a race. There will be good days and hard days. There will be victories and setbacks. The key is to treat yourself with grace and compassion through it all. I encourage you to start small. Choose one small, manageable action to try the next time you feel that familiar pull. The peace you are seeking is not in the pantry. It is in the profound and empowering act of choosing to care for yourself. You are worth the effort. Now, what will your first experiment be?